Hello, I am Ricky Morton of the Rock and Roll Express, and you are watching Hashtag Truth with Scott Larson.
Watch it all fall down around you now. Was it ever really worth it? Having your kingdom crumble to the ground because you never had the courage. Stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up.
Hey guys, I'm Luke Childers, and today I want to talk to y'all about bullying. My whole school life, I got bullied, and people don't realize what they do when they say mean stuff to you mentally and physically. So I reached out to our great friend, Cindy Virali, Creative Southern Designs, and she helped me make this shirt. It's I Will Be Your Friend, because I feel like everybody needs a friend. And also, all together, let's stop bullying.
Hi guys, just want to say, bullying is not cool. I'll be your friend.
Ask yourself, how would you feel if you were being bullied? Let's stop bullying together. I'll be your friend.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hashtag Truth. Tonight we have the one, the only, the American, Alex Shane. And man, let me tell you, I've got to say this before the show starts. Me and Mr. Alex Shane have been talking for the last week or so on the phone. We talked 2 or 3 times on the phone. It's never a short message. It's always been about an hour and a half. Let me tell you guys, this man has seen a lot of things in wrestling. This man has done a lot of things with wrestling with some great people out there in the wrestling world. And I am so excited to have you on the show, sir, and to talk to you tonight. I'm going to ask you a question that I ask every wrestler that comes on the show. How'd you get started in this crazy world of wrestling, man?
Well, first of all, Scott, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be on here. Been great talking with you over the last week. How I got started in this business, which most of us as a kid, during my era, we watched. I watched it with my grandfather, and which then, we only had 2 or 3 channels, but Mid-Atlantic came on. First
Kids today don't know. Kids today don't know when the president came on. Your night was ruined back then.
It was done, but first match I ever watched was with Dino Bravo.
Oh man!
And I remember looking at my grandfather, and I thought, yeah, one of these days I'd like to do that. Of course, when you're only, I'm 5'5", so you get laughed at a lot. But a good friend of mine by the name of Dwayne Barker, who lives down in Greensboro, North Carolina, he was a state powerlifting champion, and he got me into weightlifting. And me and him lived together for a while in Lynchburg, Virginia, and I come back home, continued to stay in the gym, even after I was married. And my brother-in-law and I went to a show, and it was a show that Paul Jones was running.
Right.
Chris Chavis, who later in WWF was Tatanka. Vince Torelli, who Ken Shamrock. And we were sitting there, and all of a sudden, this guy comes up and said, "Hey, can we talk to you for a minute?" And they pulled me to the side, and I went, to the steps, where the guys was coming out. I didn't know what was going on.
Right.
And one of the guys come up and said, "Hey, have you ever thought about doing this?" He said, "You've got a good look to you. You work out a lot." I said, "Yeah." I said, I stay in the gym quite a bit. And at the time, I did. I was weighed 210, was bench pressing 380, had a 29-inch waist. Those days are long gone, but anyway. But he gave me a number. He said, call this number and talk to this man. He's got a school in Charlotte, and it was Ivan Koloff. And
Whoa. Oh, great.
I give Ivan a call, and we talked and waited a week and went to Charlotte, and Dwayne and I both went and got our hind ends beat by Bobby Fulton's brother.
So explain to me. Okay, so you went in there, and Ivan Koloff. This is Ivan Koloff's school. Explain to the new guys who are in wrestling. Explain to them what training was like when you came into wrestling. Now, how many years ago are we talking?
This was in later part of the late 80s.
Okay, so late 80s, early 90s. So explain to them what training was for you back then. When you got in there, what did Ivan Koloff start you off as, and how did you feel? Like, I got to ask this first. How did you feel when you first walked in there, man? I mean, were you intimidated? Did you know who was training you? That he was a major superstar. How did you feel when you went in?
You have those butterflies walking in because this is somebody you grew up watching.
Right.
Same thing with Bobby and Jackie, and you go in, and there were two rings set up. One of the rings was a beginner ring. The other one was an advanced ring. You went to the beginner ring, which I'm telling you, the ground was softer.
Okay.
That's where you learn to bump. But now the tryout, you went through a tryout. They wouldn't go in, you pay them money, they start training.
So they put a little bit more padding on the training ring.
No.
No?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's how you learn to bump.
Okay.
That's either you learn to bump or you got hurt. There was no in betweens.
Right.
But you got in there, and I mean, they wanted to make sure this is what you wanted to do.
I got you.
And if they liked you, you stayed. If they didn't like you, thank you. Good luck in the future.
I always tell the story. I don't mean to cut you off. I always tell the story of back. I tried one time. When I was a teenager, I went in and I actually did a try. The first thing the guy told me to do, the first thing he wanted us to do, and my friend went a pretty long ways, but then they told him, thank you for your time too. But I couldn't even do the first thing. He told me to grab the rope, grab the top rope, just lean back as far as I can go, let go, and fall on my back flat. That's all he wanted us to do. I couldn't do it. I was too scared. I'm going to admit, I was too scared. He was like, thank you. No, we don't need you. But my friend hit his back. He did the bumps where you run and you kind of leapfrog somebody and fall on your back. And he did all kinds of things. I was sitting there watching it, and I was like, man, this is crazy. At that time, I wasn't even into wrestling as much as I grew up watching it. So, but I didn't know what they actually went through. And when I saw that, I was like, man, I love this sport, but I'll never be in it.
Dwayne and I both, I mean, that first day down there, just to try out, we took a pounding. But now we were asked to come back.
I love it.
And I thought, well, maybe they see something.
Right.
But now I was smart. I would sit and watch these learners and seeing what they were doing as far as, because you didn't start running the ropes right off the bat. You learned how to position, how to bump, how to tuck. I'd watch, and you learn more from people's mistakes than you do if you did everything right. And that's
so did they start you off any at the beginning? Did they start you off like how to lock up? Some of the things that you come out of the lockup with.
You learned
that came later. Okay.
You learned you learned the ropes. Then you learned how to start hold, counter holding with it, and it helped a lot too that I had an amateur background, so that helped a lot. And
right.
But I did 2 sessions with Ivan and them I got to back up. It was a 4-hour drive for me from where I lived to Charlotte for the class.
Right.
So once class was over, Ivan would tell me, go get you something to eat, meet me back here in about an hour. Then him and I would just work one-on-one.
So you'd work the amount of time that they usually work And then he would tell you, go because you're so far out, go get something to eat, come back. We're not going to waste this. We're going to train. We're going to train some more.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
Ivan would do that. And I tell you what, Ivan and Bobby now, I mean, Ivan was just such a nice guy. But now the golden rule, when you got in that advance ring, if you messed up on something, you stood and you got chopped from everybody.
All right, I love that. I got to get some of these, man. You've got people talking over here. I got to get to some of this. Mitchell Bennett coming to us on YouTube. Mitchell said, "What's up, bro?"
Hey, how are you this afternoon?
Kevin Edwards, Kavina is in the house. I got one of my last interview before you, I think, was Kavina. So Kavina is in the house. Dwayne Holiday coming from us from YouTube said, "A great talent, an incredible man, and even better friend. I love Alex, and I'm truly honored to call him a brother." There you go.
Same thing here, DP, buddy. I love you. Good guy, great guy, big guy.
Alex Cloninger, one of my best friends, said, "Have no fear, the hashtag champ is here." Love you, Alex, man. He said, Mr. Shane, he's talking about his now. He said, "Mr. Shane, when Timmy Anton gave me the training back in 2008, we started training in a boxing ring." I've never heard of that. I'm going to have to get that story from Alex. A boxing ring.
Like I said, that's if you don't learn to bump in something that hard, you will get hurt.
Some people don't understand. Some people think there's a ton of padding on wrestling rings. When they, the fly by night people who watch it, once in a blue moon and aren't marked like me, they think there's a lot of padding on here, and it's not, ladies and gentlemen. It's just wood, and there might be padding about an inch thick underneath it, and then there's a cover. That's it. When they fall from the top rope and come down and land, they're landing on wood. They're basically landing on wooden steel. That's it.
And but the thing about it is, getting back to the training part. Now, a lot of guys have been going down there for several months. I had 5 lessons. I had 5 Sundays with Ivan.
Woo!
But during the week when I was at home, I'd get old Mid-Atlantic tapes, old Georgia Championship wrestling.
Oh, man.
I didn't watch them to see, man, I wonder who Bobby Eaton's going to beat or who the Masked Superstar is going to take out. I watched and studied how they were doing things, especially Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, these guys that, were technicians.
Yes.
And you would watch, you'd learn, you'd rewind back, you'd watch again. I would go out and stand on the ladder and fall backwards onto the ground, tuck my chin and fall and learn to bump. And
wow.
And then one day during the week, I get a phone call from Ivan. He says, "Hey," he said, "I got something you might be interested in." I said, "What's that?" He said, "You want to do some TV with the UWF?" I said,
"Oh my goodness! I watched UWF when I was a kid. They always tried to go up against the Southern wrestling companies and try to tear them down. It was like the WCW WWE wars back then when UWF came in. But they had a lot of great talent. And tell some of the people who you wrestled with at UWF.
Oh man, I got to work my real good friend to this day, and that was the Boogeyman, Jimmy Valiant.
Oh.
Another guy by the name of David Perry. I got to work Orndorff. Let's see, Sonny Beach and Stevie Ray. Oh Lord, I can't. And I wish I had tapes on all this, but you can't. You couldn't film nothing because then it was all put on satellite. It was all copyrighted. Every now and then you'll find one on YouTube but these guys. I mean, it was the thing about the younger talent today, and I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not trying to badmouth no one. Is that
we're gonna get into that after the first break too. Trust me, I'm gonna let you finish your sentence, but we're gonna get into that right after the first break. We're gonna talk all about that. So go ahead and finish what you were saying. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. I mean, if you need to take your break, you just tell me when, brother.
But you good.
but you can ask Kevin and Kevin that I trained, and Tony Richardson, the Midnight Mauler, Steve Harris, just a list of some of these guys. And I told them, I said, your best experience in that locker room when you're sitting there with veterans, and this is what Ivan told us, you keep your mouth shut and your ears open.
Right.
And you have to have a strong backbone and take the criticism, because the criticism is there to make you better.
That's right.
And that's what's wrong with a lot of these young kids today on some of the shows I've went to, because I do a lot of meet and greets. Me and Jimmy do a lot of them together, and that's one of the things. You could go up now and say Kay Fay, and they come up and shake your hand and go, "How you doing, Kay?"
Right.
It's a lost art that the guys with Boogie and Ivan and the guys before them, that everything they tried to hide and do, and they were masters at it. And then, it comes to us, and then
kayfabe, and again, let me hit this commercial real quick, then we're going to come back. We're going to talk about kayfabe back in the day and now and everything. I love what you're saying, and I want to talk about your room, because I see a bunch of signed autographs behind you. We're going to get to that. There's a lot of things to go. Ladies and gentlemen, we might do a part 2 to this one, because Mr. Shane has a lot to say, and this is going to be a great interview. And if you haven't noticed, I don't have a microphone in front of me. I fixed it where I have a camera off screen and you can hear me, just so I can talk just regular, and I ain't got to worry about putting my mouth to it. I want to talk just like I did on the phone with this gentleman, because let me tell you, he's got a bunch of stories and I love to hear them. And this is going to be very entertaining. Trust me. I'm going to hit a short commercial right here. We're gonna do we're going to do retro toys and collectibles, and we'll be right back. But let me tell you guys this. Coming up now, as soon as this show is over, I am going to start putting on the promos for the people in our area as commercials and things like that. And we're going to get back to being the old hashtag and promoting everybody. So be looking for that. I'm sorry I had to make this announcement, Mr. Shane, during your show, but we'll be right back. And then we're going to talk a lot about the difference between 80s and 90s wrestling and today. And I really want to get into it with Mr. Shane about that, because I'm old school too. So we'll be right back.
This is 4 Foot Batman. And 4 Foot Batman knows the home of great collectibles at awesome prices. Retro toys and collectibles, movie memorabilia, Magic the Gathering cards, wrestling figures, Hot Wheels, the always popular Funko Pops, and much, much more. He knows the Hall of Collectibles is located in downtown Cherryville, North Carolina, at 400 East Main Street. Give them a call today, 980-989-5181. Retro Toys and Collectibles, the heavyweight champion in collecting.
Let me tell you guys, Retro Toys and Collectibles, if you live anywhere near Cherryville, North Carolina, or if you don't, give them a call if you collect anything. I mean, movie memorabilia, video games. He collects everything. If Cotton, the owner, don't have it, he'll get it for you. I guarantee. He's got a lot of people out there that he knows. He's brought in a lot of exotic things. So go see Retro Toys and Collectibles. But guys, we're talking with Mr. Alex Shane, and he is telling us about him coming through wrestling in the 80s. And man, I'm telling you, being a friend of Jimmy Valiant, I couldn't imagine that, man. I just couldn't. I am so jealous. I'm going to tell you right now, man, because he is a great guy. He was a ring general back in the day. But you were telling us about the difference between back then and now, and I'm going to get to a lot of these comments right now, because a lot of people are asking questions and they're doing some things. So we're going to do this real quick. I got to get to it. All right, my dad's watching. My dad said, "How long have you been wrestling? How long did you wrestle? Or are you still wrestling?"
From the late 80s through the 90s, and ended up having a severe knee injury several times, and that kind of put a stop to it. I mean, I wished I'd had a longer career than what I had, but there's a lot of things I was missing home with my kids. So some ways it was a blessing, because I got to coach them in football. I actually coached them in a wrestling club that we had, and all three of my sons went to Virginia State Finals every year. They medaled. So, that, those memories you can't get back. So, I'm
Right.
glad I was able to do them.
All right. Joseph Burns said, good to see hashtag truth back on. Thank you, Joseph. Man, I appreciate you coming in. Alex said, Scott Larson, we're getting a lot of feedback from your mic. I don't know if it's my mic or his mic. One of them. I don't know. But I'm sorry if it's clicking a little bit. It'll be all right. Let me see. I might switch over mic. Let me see if I can do this and see if it's my mic. Give me 1 second, guys.
It didn't start till you came back from commercial.
Yeah, that's gonna do it.
Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, then it's not my mic because I just switched to my regular mic. Let me get the feedback.
I'm still hearing the crinkling sound. It's a crinkle.
Yeah, I think it's coming from yours, brother, but that's okay. We'll get. It's just a little click. We can deal with it. I can deal with it. I didn't notice till you told me. Joseph said so. Alex. Yeah, there you go. Well, I guess when we start talking, it'll go away. Alex said, going back to training, do you think they were tough on you and others because they needed to know they could trust you in the ring and still be able to carry out difficult stuff even when exhausted?
Exactly. They, it was, hey, we didn't even, the heels and the baby faces didn't even show up in the same cars. I mean, if we did,
see, that's what I'm talking about. You can't. Yeah, that's not happening today. I can tell you right now, at least in my area. I can't speak for everywhere in the United States, but in my area, that's not happening. They carpool. Some of them carpool. Some of them show up, and they're going to, and I don't know a locker room that I've been in our area, and I'm not down in anybody. Trust me. I love all these companies that are at the bottom of my screen. I love every one of them. One's from Tennessee, the one at the end, Wasp. But, I've been to every one at least once that's on the bot. Well, except for NAWA. I've been to AWL, Pro Wrestling Union, See No Evil Wrestling. I've been to all four of those, and I can tell you they mingle in the back, which is very different from the old days where they had separate locker rooms, didn't they?
Yeah, sometimes you did. Sometimes you didn't, but you still kept kayfabe. If somebody come through there that you didn't know and somebody yelled kayfabe, you separated like a bunch of roaches in a room when the lights turned on. There you go. And intermission, the heels didn't come out because that wasn't right. No. The babies all came out, kiss the babies, get the signatures. And there is, and I'm not knocking nobody, there is a lot of great talent out there on the indie circuit. There really is. There's guys that bust their butt to do what they need to do. Right. But working takes time. Yeah. Learning the ring psychology, and it's something that Ivan told me, Boogie's told me, the ring psychology is not something you learn overnight. It comes with time. So let me ask you, you wrestled for quite a while. You wrestled for over 20 years, from what you're saying. When did you start feeling comfortable about your ability to keep, because it's all about making it look good. You want to look like you hate the guy, but you also want to keep him, from being injured. So at what point in your career did you feel, okay, I'm not saying that you're not going to have it in the back of your mind, but what I'm saying is, at what point did you feel, that going into the ring, you could look at this guy and go, okay, no problem. We're going to go in. I know he's going to keep me safe. I'm going to keep him safe. Is it picking the wrestler or being with a certain wrestler, or is it just a mindset? It's a mindset, a lot of it, because you go in. I don't care if you're jerking the curtain or if you're in a main event, you still have in the back of your mind. Right. What if this happened? And, I was fortunate enough with the guys that I worked with on the indie circuit, from Eddie Golden, Stan Lee, Mike Sampson, Bobby Blaze, Scotty Blaze. Oh God, me and Scotty Blaze has had some tremendous matches. But like you said, we trusted each other. We had that mutual respect. And it would be a lot of times, and I'm kind of breaking kayfabe here, and when Kevin was refereeing, we would do a move, And if I didn't feel comfortable with the way the guy come down, I backed up, act like I was doing something. I'd tell Kevin, go check, make sure he's okay. Because, we had to get up and go to work on Monday.
Right. Exactly. I understand
you
that.
can't do that with a broke back or, a broke arm. I've blowed my knee out 3 times in the ring, and never one time did I let them stop the match. We kept the match going, but we went to the mat is what we did.
Right.
But the ring psychology part that I was telling you about comes into where knowing how to sell a move, knowing when, to do the takedowns, knowing when to give, if you're a baby face, to give, make a comeback, to let the heel get the heat back on you. Because I worked a lot of guys, and I learned the hard way. It was give and take. They didn't call spots. We had a finish. That was it.
Right.
Wayne Rogers, and Wayne is, him and Doug Vines were 2 of the smoothest guys that I'd ever worked with. And Wayne really opened my eyes to the give and take, because the first time I worked him, I got jobbed beyond jobbed.
Right.
But
right.
I learned.
I have to give you a compliment, sir. I'm going to give you a compliment. I want to go through these, because man, they're coming hot and heavy over here on people wanting to say stuff. So I'm gonna go back to doing that. But then I'm going to hand you a compliment, because you remind me of somebody that I know, and I'm going to hand you a compliment. I hope he takes it as a compliment too, because when you talk, I feel like you have the same conversations I do with this man. So when you're saying all that, he says the exact same thing to me. So I know that something's right. When you got 2 people who say the exact same thing to somebody, it's going to be right. So, and speaking of the devil, this is his wife. Missy Childers says, an awesome store. She was talking about retro toys and collectibles. She said, love Boogie Woogie, man. Yeah, daddy. Yeah, you know it. Dwayne Holiday said, to any rookie in the business, Alex Shane is a man you should listen to. In the great words of Ernie Ladd. Wow, Ernie Ladd. Sit up under the learning tree a spell. Yes.
Well, thank you, DP.
Joseph Burns says, you haven't been to a RWC show yet, you slacker. He's talking to me about that, not you. And Missy wants to know where RWC is. And Joseph said it's in North Carolina, based out of Lumberton. Missy Childers said, back in the days, guys stayed the whole show and respected each other. What do you say about that?
Yeah, we did. When any of us walked into a locker room, we went around and shook hands with everybody. When we got done with the match, we shook hands. We thanked the guy in the ring, whether you won or lost. You thanked him. That was the mutual respect we have. A lot of that respect is gone. Some of these young kids, and I've noticed it. And like I said, I'm not pointing fingers. It's just my opinion. You can try to show them something and they want to look at you like, who are you? What did you ever do?
You are not the first veteran that has told me that, sir. And let me tell you, and I'm not downing anybody either. I'm really not. But you are not the first person that has told me that. There is a difference, and that's a whole show in itself. There's a different style. That it's a faster style, it's a high flying style that's going today. Everybody seems to want to, come off the ropes or come off the top rope and do that. And I'm not down in that. I love people who do that stuff. But like you were talking about, man, I miss the days of 2 big guys that look like wrestlers, and we'll get into that. They look like wrestlers that get in and have a match, a ground and pound, a wrestle. They wrestle. Yeah. They do wrestling moves, not just, kicks and flying off the top rope. And Missy wants to know, have you ever worked for American Pro Wrestling?
Oh, man, I worked for so many in the indies. I may have. I don't know. Just to be honest up front.
Missy is my sidekick on this show. Every time she comes on, she has really great questions. I love when Missy comes on and starts asking questions. But before I told you that I wanted to give you a compliment, I want to compliment you, sir, because you sound just like a good friend of mine. And his name is Chris. His wrestling name is Chris Thunder Anderson. And he went through everything old school like you did. They went in and they made sure you wanted to wrestle back in the day. You didn't go to a show, or they didn't back you up as a trainer and say, hey, this kid's good, put him on the card, unless you really did what you needed to do. And back in that day, and I'm pretty sure we could talk about that for a few minutes. How long was it when you first started training? Okay, back when you said you were training, until you actually got in the ring and had your first match in front of paying customers, in front of a crowd of paying customers. How long did that last back then?
I was in there for about 2 months.
So it
Well, like
took
I said,
about 2 months of training and everything,
But
and then you
I
started.
did.
But you always learn, though. You always learn,
Yeah,
though.
you always learn. But I did a lot of stuff away from the camp. So when I went back, I knew what to do. And it's
Okay.
like the majority of my wrestling matches were videotaped. But I came home and watched them. I didn't watch them to say, man, what that move looked like. I came home and studied them to see, okay, what do we need to do to where this would look better?
What do I need to improve?
Yes. And I mean, it's just those little things, like throwing a punch. Pistol Pez Watley told me, said, you take a paper plate, tape it to a wall, punch that plate. He said, you're going to put a hole in your wall, but you punch that plate to where all you're doing is hitting that plate. I used a plate and a teddy bear. And you can ask Kevin. I can throw a punch on. Back then, I could throw a punch at somebody. And Kevin,
we've got a video. We got a video, and I'm going to have you explain who you're wrestling it right after this next break.
Okay.
We have a short video that we're going to watch together. And this was back in the day, ladies and gentlemen. So it's not going to be full screen. You'll see us in the background a little bit, but you will be able to see the match with us. But man, I'm telling you, you're going to see old school wrestling. You're going to see, things in the ring, and these two guys went at it. These two, let me tell you, this was a good match. I watched it. It's only like 7.5, almost 8 minutes long. The match lasted about 8 minutes, but let me tell you, it was gruesome. So I'm going to finish these real quick. Joseph said, Alex, can you name a few wrestlers that still uphold the traditions the most? I'll just stop right there. And then he said Psycho Boy Fodder is one that comes to mind for me. But who in your wrestling, in the wrestling world right now that is still holding up to the traditions of old school type wrestling?
Let's see. Well, Scotty Blaze did.
Boogie Woogie's definitely on there.
Yeah, Boogie did. I said, well, oh man, Nate Diamond was another one of a lot of Mike Sampson's guys did.
Okay.
Sin.
Now we're just talking. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know you're probably out there yelling names from your area or this. We're just asking him from his experience. So don't think, well, this guy is just as good. Don't do that. Add to the list is what I'm saying. So go ahead, sir. Keep going.
These are some of the guys that I see today. But now back when I was working, the majority of the guys on the independent circuit, I mean, they did, and it was what really flipped me out. And some of my first shows as far as getting in with a promoter was with Southern States Wrestling down around Kingsport. And I worked a guy by the name of Chick White. And, And Chick, he had legs like tree trunks.
Okay.
I was scared to death.
Oh, wow.
We had a match. We got done. And he shook my hand. He said, it's about time they got somebody in here to work a hold and counter hold, because I had forgotten how to do all of that and everything.
And being old school, if you get in there with a big guy like that and you're smaller than him, I always heard the expression, you gotta cut down the tree, got to take him off his feet. That's how you beat a bigger guy like that if you're small. I mean, Rey Mysterio Jr. has made a living off of that. I mean, he's always smaller than everybody that comes in. Right now, he's with the, he's up there with the, best of the best of the high flyers and stuff like that. But back in the day, when he was in the old school type, wrestling before it got new, he did that was his big thing. That's the only way he could win a match, is he chopped that tree down, man. You
look at a lot of guys back during that the area before the high flying really took off, and which most of it was down in Mexico. But You know, a lot of
Right.
these guys, it was hold, counter hold, you know, takedowns. You know, you do a flying body press off the top rope. You know, and that was a lot of it. And I remember watching Mid-Atlantic tapes. The finish of the match, they pinned the guy with an atomic drop.
You go to Mid Atlantic and you see things like, and I watch it all the time too, man. If you want to go and watch that, if you have Peacock, you can go on WWE on Peacock and scroll all the way down, and it'll say something like Old School, and go through the whole list. And somewhere in there is going to be 2 or 3 shows or 4 shows of Mid Atlantic Wrestling, and you can go watch it. But like you said, yeah. A DDT would put people out back then. Now it's just a regular move.
It's
A
just a regular
DDT
move.
was a finisher back then.
Yeah, and the thing, and you was talking about the difference in the business back then it is now. And Ricky Morton told me this, that ring is a canvas. We're the artist. We have to go out there and paint a picture for these people. Every match that we did a lot on the independent circuit back when I worked, the opening match, the next match, each match built up to the next one, to your main event. The guys, your opening matches were all kept simple, because you don't go out there and do everything in the first 2 matches. Because if you do, by the time you go on in the semi or main event, they've done seen everything. You might as well go out there and play Jack Rocks.
Exactly.
And, there was Mike Sampson and I worked a match one time, and the guys that went out before us, I mean, and they had an incredible match. But when we went out, crowd was dead. I mean, you could hear the popcorn machine popping.
Wow.
And all we was doing was hold, counter holds, takedowns, tilts. You know, the stuff we'd been doing every time we'd work each other.
For years, right.
But you know,
This at the bottom of the screen. This has been my slogan for years since I started my show. It's always give me something to invest in. Give me a story give me a story in that ring, and make me, when I get in my car and I'm leaving and I'm going home, make me wonder what's going to happen next.
Well, it brings back to the old saying was, and I think it was Eddie Graham. I think I may be wrong. Said it is you know, people come up, oh, that's fake. Well, it may be, but it was my job to convince you that I was real.
There you go.
And Kevin, even as many matches as he ref for me, and Kevin, when he refereed, man, you couldn't ask for a better referee in this business. But
I'm going to tell you, we're at minute 37, ladies and gentlemen. There's going to be no more commercials. We're going to talk this thing out, because I'm loving everything Alex Shane is saying. There's no more commercials tonight, so don't worry. There won't be interruptions, and I will get to your comments soon, I promise. But go ahead, sir.
But Kevin and Kevin go, God, you are so stiff. I said, no, Kevin, that is the magic. I said, you have got to give these people, in my hometown, as many times as we come up through here in this area, I may have won 1 or 2 matches. That was it, because everybody was expecting, oh, he's from here, he's going to win. We give them that. You give them the element of surprise. We would give them everything they wanted, and at the last second, we took it away from them.
Right.
And I mean, you could hear a pin drop.
And I guarantee you, when you went to the next town back then, or you came back to, if you came back to the same auditorium or high school or wherever you wrestled back then, I guarantee you there was a packed house wondering what was going to happen next.
Yeah,
that's the trick.
And that was, I mean, we in Withville, Virginia, at George Wythe High School, we did a deal, and we would start an angle, 3 or 4. We'd run it for like 2 months. We wouldn't burn the angle out, but it always ended up in a gimmick match.
That's what there's not a lot of people in our area. There are a few companies I could list, and I'm not naming names, but a lot of wrestling companies in our area have a hard time long booking.
Yeah.
The long booking side of wrestling and indies around our area, my area where we're at, I think it's gone. It's very rare that you have a long book, because, and I'm not, and I don't blame them. I really don't, because the new wrestlers, in their mindset, it's, I got to get my eyes on me. I got to get eyes on me. So I got to be here. 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 But you know, because the internet has a lot to do with that too. The internet, when the internet came about, that changed, you know, how wrestling was done, because you know, you can get on here and do commercials. You can come on here and do promos. You can, you know, you had a free access to, you know, promote your shows. A lot of companies around here, and I'm not going to say all of them because it's not true, but there's a lot of companies around here that run shows that don't even put posters up anymore. They throw a poster up on Facebook, they throw a poster up on Instagram and stuff like that, and that's how they get their fans to come. And I still believe the old school way. I don't care where you wrestle, you should be putting posters out, banners out, going out and meeting the people out there and having them come to the show. Go to a flea market with a couple of, that's how I got into indie wrestling. Go to a flea market with a couple of wrestlers and hand out your flyer of your poster.
Yeah. Well, and when you was talking about the angles, I'm gonna give you, for instance, the way we did one when we brought Tony Richardson in. We did a show, and I had this ongoing feud with this club called the Players Club, and it was Eddie Golden, Stan Lee, and Alan King, and Playboy Brian Wayne. You know, there was this little knit group, and when we brought, they put a bounty out on me. You know, so well, we told Tony, okay, you're going to be in a mask. You're going to sit in a car. You're not going nowhere. You're not going to do nothing till you see me hit that floor at the end of that match. And I said, when you hit me with that boot, you better make sure everybody in that building feels that impact when it busts me across that forehead. Hey, I bled like a stuck hog. But see, that's the thing too, getting back to old school. You have got to be able to take some pain.
Oh,
just like a chop. I would never chop a guy and smack my leg. If you're going to chop me, you be a man and chop me. Mongolian Stomper shook my hand and told me when I worked him, he said, "You the first man in 15 years to ever bruise my chest like this."
There are people out there. There are old school people out there that are putting up like these reels and things like that, and they're making fun of those people that slap their leg or whatever when they hit people or do something. Now, if you're at a place where it's really loud or something, you know, the crowd's just so loud that you can't hear anything. Maybe then I would, you know, that way they might be able to hear an impact. But I'm just I don't know.
Robert Gibson showed me the coolest trick. And it was a shoulder tackle. You know, a lot of guys want to do a shoulder tackle, shoulder to shoulder. A proper shoulder tackle is chest to chest. He said, brother, when you hit him, he said, you smack the back of that chest, you got impact.
Right.
Simplest thing. And it's like a magician. They're looking at this hand, but they're not watching the other one. But you was talking about the chops. I got a picture back here that Mike signed and give to me, and it says, "Thanks for all the chops" on it.
Oh man. See, now there are some in indies in our area that do chops like that. And I've seen after the matches going back or to the locker room, or when they're going, you know, out to their cars or whatever, you see their chest is bruised up. There are still some out there that do that. I will contest. I got to get to these, man, because we got to catch up or they're going to get out of control.
Okay, go ahead.
Dwayne Holiday, DP Holiday. Let me tell you, he is from Wrestling All-Star Promotions up in Tennessee, Mountain City, Tennessee. He said, Alex Shane, I want to extend a personal invitation to come to WASP on August 12th as the special guest of the Commissioner DP Holiday. So there you go.
Tell him to shoot me a message on my Facebook page.
Okay, Mr. DP Holiday, who's been on #Truth. Shoot him. I'll shoot you his real name right after the show, DP, and then you send him I want to keep this kayfabe myself because I'm old school. We're gonna keep his name Alex Shane and not tell you the real one. I'll shoot you his real name, DP, right after this, and you can hook up with the man. So there you go. Missy Childers said, "Who was your favorite person to wrestle?"
Oh man. Oh God, that list could go. There were so many great guys that I worked with. I mean, it could be anywhere from. God, I got the tag team. I got to tag with Debbie Combs one night. Scotty Blaze was a good one. Midnight Mauler was a good one. Tony was a good one.
Wow.
Stan Lee, Eddie Golden. Oh man, I mean. Iron Man, Eddie Bruiser. I mean,
I'll tell you what. Look behind him on that wall, and you'll see a lot of those men that was around him when he was wrestling. That all them signed autographs behind you. Trust me, they mean something.
That's not all of them.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
the angle that I was going to tell you about, we did with Tony, talking about building the angle up.
Okay, go ahead. Finish up.
We brought him in just like that under a mask.
Okay.
And we ran with it. We even in Withville, Virginia. I mean, we did several towns. We had a following. They did a deal where they beat me, foamed at the mouth. They took me out in an ambulance.
Oh man.
Then 2 weeks later, a week later, in the next town, I got there like 3 hours early. Indian strap match. If I lose, I leave the area. Tony loses, he has to unmask. And what we did, and I told Kevin, he said, how we want to do this? I said, we're going to really make these people mad. And we had another guy put on the hood. We didn't want to break his identity because he was one of the workers.
Right.
So we all go out to wrestle each other.
So you did a switcheroo with the mask. So when you pulled it off, it was the wrong guy.
No. We left both masks on both of them.
Oh, okay. I got
So
you.
we took this other guy. See, they played my music just like if I was coming out, but I didn't. This guy comes out because I'd got injured the week before.
I got you. I'm with you now.
It was so good that people went to the local hospital to see how I was.
Oh my good. See, that's how you work, man. That is working.
I like to die laughing when Kevin told me that. But I told him, I said, when you guys go in this match, when you pick him up to hit him, I just want you to barely tap him, and then you sell it. But like go down on one knee. They did that for like 10 minutes. Oh man, the crowd was so pissed off.
Oh wow.
Unreal. And the entry thing was when I went in, the cue was when Tony went to pin him. So when he goes to pin him, they killed the lights and hit my music. And the pop was so loud, I couldn't, because usually I go to the ring on the cue on my music. I couldn't hear my music. I couldn't hear the music playing.
Wow.
So
see, that's cool right there. See, that's
turned the lights
awesome.
back on, and I'm standing in the ring. So we killed the angle off. Tony loses. He has to unmask. So that way we bring Tony back under a different angle. See, that's how your angle runs.
Gotcha. And that like I said, that's long booking. You just keep it going. I love that. I wish I was in that area when you did that, so I could watch that. I mean, that is what I get into. And there are some companies in our areas that do that. I mean, but man, I love telling a story, and a story that continues every show for a little while, the actual feud that lasts for a while. And then you build up. You don't have a stipulation match until the last match. The last match is the stipulation match. That's where you have the cage or the strap or the, whatever it's going to be. But you have regular matches, or you interfere with the other guys' matches, or whatever you're going to do.
Yeah.
Until you build it up. And I love that. Give me something to invest in. That's a good story right there.
They would even, before the blow off at the end, I mean, they would even jump me, handcuff me, come in, and they brought weightlifting belts in. And I told them, y'all go to hit me at that belt. I want the people in the top of the bleachers to feel the impact of that.
Right.
I mean, because we've got to sell them something. To
slap that back just as hard as you can with that strap. And it's only going to sting for a little while, but that pop is, you're going to hear it all the way to the top of the building. Like you said, if he rears back and pops you.
I'd tell guys, hey, if you think you're going to miss, you go ahead and hit me and you apologize later.
Right.
That was just the way we worked. And like I said, there's got to be some pain to go with it.
I got you.
I know a lot of them now can't handle the stiff forearms to the shoulder blades, but that was the way, that was the way we was trained. Same thing across the chest. You're not going to hurt that area.
There you go.
I've took some clotheslines from the guys that felt like it took my head off. But man, hey, end of the match, we both respected each other.
There you go.
And that's what that locker room is missing. And and you were talking about getting out and promoting a show. I still go out. Me and Jimmy Valiant, actually October 14th, are going to be together with YouTube and TikTok Margin Charge.
Right. Right.
Moonshiner Jimmy Ricker in Rural Retreat, Virginia.
Wow.
Promoting the Atkins show. And I do that to help Kevin. But you don't
There
see
you go,
none of
man.
these guys that's on that show now out there helping promote this because they don't understand
Now,
what you're
now,
doing.
now I have to give. Now I have to say something, and this is one of our local places. This is one of our local places. APW, American Pro Wrestling, here a little while back. They had a big meet and greet of their wrestlers out at I can't remember if it was a restaurant or something like that. Missy could probably tell me, or somebody that's over here. And all their wrestlers showed up, signed autographs. You know, they did a little, thing out there, heel versus, they were, blabbing back and forth a little bit, and, just a little show without a show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they do that here. It's few and far between. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Well, it's good that some of the indie groups do that, but like you said, it's far between that you see the guys, getting out there and pushing and promoting.
Yeah. I give credit where credit's due. They did do that, and there are, but I have to say, there's a lot of these promotions. And it's because of people like me. I'm not going to lie. I can't lie and say that, they do it and I don't. That promote online. Everybody likes to promote online, and especially me. That's what my show is all about, is promoting everybody, lift them up, give them information about the shows. And I got away from that for a little bit. I was doing just one show and kind of telling the storyline, helping the storylines. And I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I love that. But I also missed, and I'm going back to it now, promoting everybody, showing the posters, what's going on this week, and putting the posters up, and having the guy on that's on this show, and I could show the poster. But to get out, to, like you said, it's a lost art to get out and go to like flea markets or go to stores or go to places. And I'm not talking about just show up in your regular clothes. I'm talking about be a wrestler, kayfabe it. Yeah. You go out there in your gear and hand out flyers and talk to people. Hey, who are you? I'm blah, blah, blah. And this Sunday I'm going to be going against, or this Saturday I'm going to be going against, blah, blah, blah. I hate his guts or whatever. If you're a heel or, you say something, if you're a baby, that's just, man, we used to have that back in the day when I was growing up and I lived in Memphis. They used to do that there was people that would actually drive, and it's illegal to do this, ladies and gentlemen, but they did it. They would drive and be like a mailman, like a newspaper guy, and they would put their flyers in people's mailboxes, and they would do it for miles.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
We would put flyers on windshields of car in Walmart.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Go to a place and just plaster every windshield, man. You got it right there. Let me get this, man. These people, they're loving you, Alex. Let me tell you. My dad had a question for you. He said, did you or do you have an idol in wrestling? Do you have a guy that you looked up to that you thought, man, he was the best?
Mass superstar, Bill Eadie. That was my hero growing up.
There you go. There's your answer.
And I've actually got an autographed picture of him back here. I marked out on him. Even got one of his masks.
I'm going to tell you who my favorite wrestlers of all times are. They're a tag team, and I love them. And one of them is still doing behind the scenes at WWE and helping out. But my favorite wrestlers growing up were the Nightmares, Danny Davis and Kenny Wayne. Boy, them two, they had some great matches in Continental Championship Wrestling, and I watched them all over the place. But those two guys, if I was to meet one of those two guys in person, I ain't gonna lie to anybody. I'll look like a squealing little girl. I'm not even gonna lie, because I've idolized them guys, man. I've got videos back there of almost every match of Continental Championship Wrestling, and when it comes to the Nightmares, when it comes on, I act like it was back in 1985 when I was watching it. I'm not even gonna kid you. I sit on my bed right here and I'm like, woo, and I know what's going to happen, but I act like I don't. You know what I'm saying? It's like that for me, man. I just gave away a little secret, but this has been a great interview. Missy said, I'm standing up clapping. Preach it when we were talking about old school stuff. We're still going to hit on that, Missy. Don't worry. She said,
show the tape.
Right? She said, Stan Lee. Oh, and we still got to show your match. You're right. We will do that. I promise you. Stan Lee, we're going to go over the hour, sir, if you don't mind. We're going to go over the hour. I knew we would. Okay. Stan Lee and Eddie Golden are awesome. That is true.
Yes.
Okay. You asked me this before the show. You said I could ask you. Missy, like I said, she's my sidekick. She asked it for me. Who would be your Mount Rushmore? Give me the 4 wrestlers in independent wrestling that wrestled with you or you watched wrestle that were the best in the business.
You know, I thought long and hard on that because I knew I was going to get asked that. I couldn't pinpoint just 4 guys because I worked so many guys that were so good. We took care of each other. My job was to make them look good. Their job was to make me look good. And we just had that bond. I mean, they're just, and I don't mean that in a bad way.
I'll give you, again, I'll give you the answer. Look right behind them and look at the wall, ladies and gentlemen. All the signed autograph pictures. Those are the guys. And we're going to get to that.
All of them.
That's not all of them. But, yeah, I love that answer, man. Do you believe it or not, I've done over 400 interviews, and I've never had that answer. I've always had people, list WWE superstars or indie superstars that are in our area, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But, man, I love that answer. That's the very first time I've ever got. There's so many great guys that I've wrestled with that I can't give you just 4. That's all. Thank you, man. I appreciate that answer. I'm going to tell you
I appreciate her asking the question.
That is cool. Luke Childers, my buddy, man. This guy right here is running a thing about bullying, and it's a commercial I ran at the beginning of the show. Please, ladies and gentlemen, man, I'm 450 pounds. I've been fat most of my life, and I understand the bullying thing. Go out and buy a T-shirt. Go back and watch the commercial. There's about a 30-second thing at the end that shows the card where you can call and buy the shirt. She'll give you the prices and everything when you call. Luke is trying to get out everything about bullying, man. I love him. He's a good friend of mine.
Tell him I support him 100%.
There you go, man. I appreciate that. Missy said, I was talking about when he was speaking about you can't go out and use the same moves over and over. Yes. And she also said some are lazy. They want the butts. They won't the butts in the seats. Oh, they want the butts in the seats, but they don't work for it. Yes.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Straight Up Wrestling Show. Let me tell you, these guys run a great podcast. Go to Straight Up Wrestling Show on YouTube, on Facebook. 2 of my great buddies. Please go watch them. They're giving me some love on here. It says Scott Larson's hashtag truth is in full effect. Yes. Thank you. Whichever one put that on there. I love you guys. Go check out. And they talk about WWE, AEW, NXT, everything, guys. Go check out Straight Up. They are some of my really good friends, and they love wrestling. Missy said, want, not won't. She was correcting herself. My dad said, did you ever meet Sergeant Slaughter? That my dad is an ex-Marine, and he loved Sergeant Slaughter growing up. So
never got to meet him.
Oh man.
No, I think the one, and I wasn't working at the time. This is when I was in high school, and they used to come. Mid-Atlantic came to high school a lot. And
okay,
the one that I looked up to that everybody in the business did was Andre the Giant.
Oh my God! You got to be in a match, or you got to watch Andre.
We were coming out of wrestling practice. This is when I was in high school.
Oh,
so they're having Mid-Atlantic at the high school that night.
Okay,
and
I got
we
you.
opened up the back door, and it was Andre the Giant, Ricky Steamboat, the Briscoe brothers, Jay Youngblood, Mark Youngblood. I mean, and Andre's. I mean, you just.
Oh my gosh! I'm going to tell you again. If that would have been me opening that door, I don't care if I was a 17-year-old boy. I'd have been squealing like a little girl. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. Well, oh my God! Look who's here. That is some names right there.
You're just speechless.
Andre the Giant, for anybody who's watching who doesn't know, Andre the Giant was so big, his hand was so big, he could literally put his hand inside of a frying pan, flat down like this, and lift it up without the handle, inside the pan, and lift it up and move it around and put it down like this where it wouldn't fall. His hands were that huge.
And the same high school that I went to, the one of the matches that they had brought in up there at Mid-Atlantic was they brought Ric Flair in.
Oh, wow.
And
The man.
He wrestled Mongolian Stomper. So
wow.
the opportunity that I got to work Stomper, which I was nervous.
Wow.
God, I was so nervous. And he looked at me and he said, "Who trained you?" And I said, "Ivan Koloff." And this was his exact words. "I got nothing to worry about."
I love that.
He said,
I love that.
He said, I've watched you. He said, all this wrestling you do, throw it out the door. And
Right.
He said, "I expect you to give the same thing I give you." And man, it was everything was so snug. I mean, even
when you guys punched each other, you guys felt it. It was. I could see that match. I could see that match in my head, man. I'm telling you that was one that I guarantee you the audience had their attention on it.
and that was the same night when we got done with the match, man. He me and him embraced. He said, "I'll work you anywhere again." He said, "I loved it." He said, "Look at my chest. First time in 15 years I've been bruised like this."
I get chills when I think about matches like that, man. Because like I said, I grew up in the Memphis area for a little while, and those were the kind of matches I watched. Jerry the King Lawler, Bill Dundee, and all them doing what you're talking about, man. They went out there and they hit each other, man. They hated Bill Dundee and him did a they were wrestling against each other. They did a feud back in the 80s. I'm pretty sure you remember it. It was brutal. It was brutal. They every town they went to, they killed each other. Let me tell you. And they did the big build up. And if I'm not, somebody might correct me, but I believe that was the storyline where the last match they actually did it in an empty arena. And one of them got their eye totally injured. I can't remember if it was Bill Dundee or but one of them got their eye injured. I correct me anybody if I'm telling the wrong story, but I believe that was the one.
I remember somebody there got their eye knocked out or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think it was that one.
I remember.
I'm gonna have to go back and look again and see who it was. I believe it was that. I believe it was them. I could be wrong, but I believe it was them.
We were talking about putting butts in the seat.
Yep.
I remember on the show, and was working the show for Mike Sampson, and Mike comes up and he said, "I want to turn you heel." He said, "What do you think?" I said, "Hey, I love it because I had this all-American clean cut image. I mean, people loved it because I was always in there.
For people who are coming in and don't know, let me show you the wrestling picture of what he looked like back when he wrestled. This was what he looked like back when he wrestled. That is what a wrestler looks like, ladies and gentlemen. I can look at that picture without anything around it and go, man, that guy wrestled in the 80s. You just had the look. You could tell.
Yeah. But and what we did, and Mike told me, he said, "I want you to find something these people like, and I want you to drill it." And I said, "Okay." I said, "I'll see what I can come up with." And I kept watching these people. We was in this little town in Hansonville. We run out of a place over there every other month, and the place was always packed. But I kept noticing everybody had something with Earnhardt on it. Dale Earnhardt, number 3. Now, this is before Earnhardt.
Oh, I love this story, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead. I'm going to let you go. Go as long as you need.
Well, I go and get the ring crew, get one of the ring members. I said, "Listen, I need a magazine with a poster of Dale Earnhardt in it, and you got about 2 hours to get it back to me. And I need a lighter." So now you folks know where this is going. So me and Eddie Bruiser work each other in a babyface match that night.
I got so excited I spilled my drink on myself. Go ahead, man.
So about 3/4 of the way through the match, I faked the injury. Then it's when I turned heel.
Oh, man.
Oh, I mean, just beat Eddie to a pulp, throwed him out. The crowd's throwing stuff in the ring. To put Eddie on a gurney, and I said, "Y'all better make sure you got a scrap gurney because I'm going to Pearl Harbor that gurney with Eddie strapped to it." We did it. We got in the ring, and I sat there and I'm doing this big speech that the All-American is dead. I said, "Now I'm the number one bad boy around. And the crowd still, they're still kind of pushing at the barriers. And I said, the only way you stupid people can count is 1, 2, and they yelled Dale Earnhardt. I thought, oh boy, I'm going to get killed tonight for sure. I pulled out a poster. I held it up.
Now, where did you do this at?
It was in Hansonville, Virginia.
Virginia. If you would have done that in North Carolina, you wouldn't have made it to your car, brother. I'm going to tell you right now. If you would have done that in North Carolina, you wouldn't have made it to your car. Go ahead, man.
I barely made it to the car that night, but I pulled out that lighter. I said, I love Dale Earnhardt. He is the man. And they were cheering. I guess they thought I turned babyface, and I burned it. I set it on fire.
Oh, you would have not made it to the car in North Carolina. I'm telling you that right now. There's no way you'd have made it to the car. You would have had to have SWAT take you to your car, brother. I'm not even gonna lie.
The response we got out of that was just, whew. Hey,
I bet they came back. I bet you gave them something to invest in. I bet they came back, brother.
The barrier got pushed up to the ring.
Oh my goodness!
They had county police officers there. It got so bad that the Hills had to come out of the back, get to the ring to get me out of the ring.
Wow!
I mean, I'm sitting there going, "Come on, bring it on!"
That's when you know you've got. That's when you know you've got heat. That is heat right there. The definition of heat. I mean,
we got in the back, and we're sitting back there just laughing about this. And Mike goes. He said, I expected the heat. He said, but man, you drove a dagger into it. And I would go back as a baby face.
Now this was before Jimmy had his. That's before Earnhardt even had his accident.
Yeah,
he was still alive at this time.
Yeah, this is a long time.
Yeah, very right. And if you would have done that right after he died, oh my god, you wouldn't have made it out of the ring, brother.
No, I would have probably been respectful enough not to do that, and maybe win another angle.
Right.
But hey, we'd go back over there, and I'd go back as a baby face, and I've teamed with Ricky and Boogie over there, and they would still throw stuff at me.
Right.
But the thing I did, even as a heel, and it's where I was explaining to you about the ring psychology of stuff. I would set away where nobody could see me, and I would watch the crowd. So if you and I was working each other and you're the baby face, I would tell you, hey, this person over here wearing this shirt, he's the one got the crowd going. That's who I'm going to stay on. But I never made fun of nobody. I never picked one person out and made fun of that person or, do the typical heel stuff. I made fun with them. That was even worse.
Right. And let me tell you again, I'm going to put up another thing here. This is the gentleman that I was talking about, that his conversations with me are just like the ones you have. So I know everything that you guys are telling me is true about the time period. This guy is great. This is Chris Thunder Anderson right here, who just put this up. He said, what Alex is saying about the old guys is so true. If they like you, they would do much for you. They would be right there for you.
Thank you so much for that, sir. He was exactly right. And, and we try to help out these new kids, but some of them, they don't understand that when they come in, they're not the ones making themselves a superstar. It's the guy they're working with. It's like dancing. If you're in there with a good dance partner, you can dance all night long and walk out of there peacefully. If you're in there with somebody horrible, you're in for a long
They night. Step on your feet, you're going to get hurt. Same thing in wrestling. Everything, it's the same thing.
And I'm not going to lie. There were times, sometimes I was a little bit difficult to work with, especially when something wasn't going right, because I was really petite about how things went. I would take, and I was the only guy, and Boogie's even told me this. I took the finish of the match and I worked the match around that finish, so it came together as a story.
Yes.
And
you know what? What's funny is I watch a lot of interviews because I want to make this the best podcast in the world. I ain't gonna lie to you. I really try. And I've saw a lot of interviews with Ric Flair said that in one of his interviews. He said, you know what? These new guys need to learn. We would go out. We would be behind the curtain. Okay, we would know the story because it would come from whatever happened the week before or whatever, or the town before. But all the guy that was running the show would do is come up and say, "Hey, this is the end. You guys do what you got to do," and you would do it to that end.
Yep.
And Ric Flair said, "Man, there's a lot of people that don't understand it nowadays." And I'm not bashing anybody. I'm just telling you what Ric Flair said.
Yeah.
And he said there was many times where if somebody got hurt, you knew it. If somebody was blowed up and you knew they couldn't do the finish, the referee was always in with you, and you had some kind of signal, grab your ear or do something. And he knew, okay, we're about to end this. The referee knew, right there that you were going to end it. And he told a lot of the things that, people shouldn't know, but it just amazes me that that's the way guys were back in the day. They were for each other. They would look like they kill each other out there, but man, I'm telling, and they kept kayfabe, but they loved each other and they kept each other. They kept the story going. That's what the big thing was. It was all about the fans, man.
Hey, the one guy that I worked a lot, his name was Paul Sullivan. His name was Iron Man. I trusted him enough. We did 2 shows. We did a double shot. Did one during the day and did another town that evening. And both of them was outside shows. That I trusted him. And Paul, I mean, he was huge. He had no neck.
Okay.
And you can ask Kevin this. Kevin was blown away. I had him power bomb me on the ground. That is trust.
That is, it is. Yeah, it is. Okay, I'm gonna have to catch up with some of these because we're gonna get way behind. James Roberts said, "What's up, Scott Larson? What's up, James? This is the owner of XCW here in our area." Harry Taylor, I can't remember who you were talking about. It was a little while back, probably 15, 20 minutes back. He said, "I remember him." You were talking about somebody. I don't know who it was. We're that far behind, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry, Harry. I really am. My dad said, "Scott, you ought to do a 2-hour special with this gentleman." Well, we're about 1 hour and 15 minutes into this one, and I unless he's going somewhere, I'm not going anywhere. This is awesome. James Roberts said, "I salute you. # Heel Life Matters."
Thank you.
Sean Duffy said, "Sorry I'm late, but hello and good evening from Fallon." This is my buddy from Fallon, Nevada. Sean, he's been watching # since the beginning. This guy is awesome. I love him. He's all the way over on the other side of the United States. Oh, here's a good one. I couldn't wait to put this one up. This is funny. The other day I saw a funny post and I copied it and pasted it and put it on my page. He said, "That post that you gave about having a warrant or whatever, I posted it as well, and it scared the death out of my grandma." That Reagan, I hope it didn't scare her too bad. That was a funny post. And then Chris, who I said I would love for you and Chris Thunder Anderson to meet, sir. You two would have a conversation that would be out of this world. He said, "It's now our jobs as the old guys to teach the business as best we can to whoever is willing to listen."
Yeah.
And trust me, every time I get around Chris Thunder Anderson, that's exactly what I do. I do a lot of being quiet, which I don't do on my show here. But when I'm with him, I do a lot of being quiet, and I listen to him tell the stories and everything because, man, you learn a lot. I love when, I call you guys woolly veterans, and that's not me downing you. That's just, to me, it's a compliment.
Well,
I love talking to woolly veterans who have been through, they paid their dues. They did the stuff. Now, one of the things I'd love to talk to you about, and this is a respect thing, and I bring it up every once in a while on my show, wiping the feet when you get into the ring and being there to, if it's a show where it's traveling, if it's a traveling show or whatever, coming in to help put up the ring and break it down at the end of the night. Tell us about your experience and what you did during your career to, pay your dues. Basically, I'm asking you, what'd you do to pay your dues, man?
Busted my butt.
I love that.
I
love that.
No, we needed help setting the ring up. We set the ring up, and that was the stuff with the UWF when it first got started. That's what we were supposed to do, was set the ring up. And then Ivan calls me the day before and says, "Hey, you don't need to be down here. Just show up at the show." And that's what we did. And then Ivan set me up with a promoter out of Vinton, Virginia, named Paul Puff.
Okay.
And so that was probably really my first singles match away, that we didn't do TV, because the UWF, I mean, it was behind the scenes. I mean, you had a cater room, you had a board, you had monitors, you knew what match you was, the referee had your time. First time I ever had problems with a mark. Then, I'm not on UWF as Alex Shane. I was working as the Viper.
Okay.
I wore a mask and snakeskin tights, and
so in UWF, you were called the Viper.
yeah.
Okay.
But going to the ring when I was going to work Boogie, and it was so cool because we're going to the ring and you're thinking, "Oh man, I can't believe it." You had to walk sideways to get through the crowd, and I mean, and people's just trying to touch you. Well, Mark punches me, and it was just
while you're coming through the crowd.
While I'm coming through the crowd, I get this wham, and it was instinct. The referee seen it. The security behind us seen it. The referee grabs my arm. Well, I bring him up, plumb up off the floor, and he's going, "Don't touch the marks. Don't touch the marks." But it was just instinct when I got hit. I was going to hit, but
Right.
I learned, and it was like Ivan told me when we got to the back. He said, "I seen what happened," and he said, "I understand that," but he said, anytime you get hit by a mark, by a bottle, anything they throw, you never acknowledge it because you'll start a riot.
Right. Because then everybody thinks they can do it.
Yeah. And, we had my wife and my son, my oldest son, he went with me a lot, but it finally got to the point that, especially when I was working as a heel, that he stayed in the locker room, because we did an outside show, and we went early and took our kids there and, let them ride the rides, our pictures on the posters. And we was on a little local TV station over there, and there were people coming up and getting their picture took with me and wanting an autograph. Even as a heel, I don't care who it was, I always give someone an autograph if they wanted it. And that bell rung, it was a different story. I got
Yes,
two
it
stars.
was.
I got 2 stars on my left arm where I had a lady hit me with a stick, and I didn't acknowledge it. When I got back in the ring, my nickname is Smurf. They said, "Smurf, your arm's pouring blood." And that lady had a blade on a stick that she hit me with and cut me.
Oh my goodness! I'm going to get back to asking you about where you got Smurf. That's got to be a funny story. But before we do that, I want to show this match that you had. Explain to me what we're about to see. And ladies and gentlemen, you got to remember this was recorded in the '80s, so it's up and down from a phone. It looks like, and it's not going to be very wide. But you're going to see old school wrestling here. And explain who you're wrestling and how you got to the point of this match, if you remember.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, you want me to? Okay, we'll go ahead. We'll do it this way. Let me do it this way. It'll be a lot better. Let me do it this way. I've got it.
And I'm gonna see it on my end also, correct?
Yes. Let me show it. I was going to show it on the screen and it would block it. Let me try that. If it doesn't work out, I'll put it on the full screen. Let's see if we can watch it this way. We can still talk about it. We can't hear. They can't hear us when this is. It's going to mute us if I put it up that way. So let me put it up the other way.
Okay.
We didn't hear a word you said, and I apologize.
No problem.
I apologize to everybody for not being prepared, but I'm going to do it the way it should be done. I really do apologize. Let me get it.
That's no problem.
Let me get it that way. So let me do this. Take me just a second, ladies and gentlemen. I promise it won't take long. And then we'll watch the match and we can talk about it as we do it. Okay.
Okay, there you go.
There we go. Now we can talk about it as we go, and there is sound, so hopefully I won't get booted off of Facebook for this, but there you are. So explain to us what we're watching, where you're at, who you're wrestling. Explain what we're watching right here.
And that is Sexy Kavina refereeing right there.
Okay.
Kevin. That is Eddie Golden and myself, and I loved working Eddie. We were in Nora, Virginia at Irving High School, which is no longer there.
Okay.
We were supposed to be in a main event. And the first match was kind of a crowd wasn't into it. So the promoter comes up and said, guys, any way that you two can go out the next match and give this crowd something to hang on to. So we cut a 35-minute match down into about 8 minutes. And it was just a whole counter hold. We bumped, we worked, bringing him in the hard way. You don't see that a lot. Right back on the arm.
I'm gonna turn the volume down so I don't get hit from Facebook, so we can talk better.
Okay.
But that crowd was loud. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you guys heard it. It was loud. Oh, a good knee right down. Ooh, I love that. Oh, the patented leg drop.
But notice all I did, I stayed right with an arm. And notice it's just
You're working on one of the digits. I got you, man. All right. He reverses. Oh man, great chain wrestling. Oh, I love it. Oh man, right. Oh, that's beautiful. Right into a headlock.
A friend of mine seen this, and he sent me a message back, and he actually wrestled in WWF with WWE, and he lives in Arizona, and he said that is old school at its best.
I got to put some of these up here. Kavina said, "Look at that referee, Sexy Kavina." And
But
DP Holiday. And DP Holiday said, "Wow, just so fluid. You know, he is a hell of a worker when he makes it look that easy and good." That's a beautiful compliment.
Thank you, DP. But notice, Kevin, and I always told him, as a referee, you stay out of the way and let us do what we need to do. You will learn when you need to come in and the things that you need to do.
There we go. Bringing them up, holding them up there. Blood flowing down to the head. Drop them. Great suplex, man. Oh, I love it. Oh, wow.
Back into an armbar.
This is wrestling. This is wrestling. I mean, this is what I grew up watching. I'm not gonna say high flying stuff isn't awesome, but this is what I grew up watching. This makes me want to come back and watch another match. You two go at it again, man. I mean, I love this. I could watch this all day. I ain't joking. Oh man, look at that.
Here we get ready to go into the heat.
Big elbow to the face. Oh.
But Eddie.
Stomps on. Oh, okay. Okay.
And he was trying to blow me up at the beginning. If everybody got to see the beginning.
Right.
You blowed up yet? And I was going, no, why? Am I supposed to be?
Oh, the fast pace at the beginning. He tried to blow you up.
Yeah.
I got you.
Hey, we would rib each other in the ring somehow.
But man, I'm telling you, I would go with if all 6 matches or whatever, how many ever 8 or whatever you had on the card that night was like this, these people got their money's worth.
The turnbuckle things right there was my doing. I would hit them turnbuckles so hard. I was trying to unhook the top rope.
Man, you don't see this very often in matches today. There was a great chin lock. I love that. Again, going to the chin lock. Look at that.
Eddie was so good to work with. And him and Stan as a tag team, when you got both of them together, it was like having a night off with them. I mean, they were so good to work with.
The referee's right there doing his job. Cavino, great job. The referees don't get enough. Referees, whether you're a referee or a wrestler, referees don't get enough credit sometimes. But he's right on top of it. I love it.
But see, now a lot of this stuff right here that Eddie and I are doing, we didn't call none of this stuff. We just went with it.
Oh, good roll up. Oh, nice. He did not stop. He came right out of it and went right after you.
And that's where the psychology part comes in of the give and take. And I don't know, did I send you the thing that Eddie Bruiser had wrote?
Yes, I will read that right after the match. Oh, big forearm, big lariat. Oh, that's a. Oh, I haven't seen that before. That was pretty cool when you brought your legs up and got his head like that.
Yeah,
but he got out of it. That was a good move though. Great body slam. Uh-oh. Here we go. Now this is when you know they're going up. They go to the outside. Oh, missed. Okay. Oh, nice. Another one. Off the ropes. Oh, he caught you off the ropes and you went up to the outside. Uh-oh.
Out of the ring, yeah.
And he's doing what a heel should do. If he was the heel, he was like, "Yes, I'm the best."
Yep. Sunset flip over the top rope.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Sunset flip. Oh, he holds on to the rope. He's holding on. Oh, he lets go. A 2 count. Oh, man. Great. Got you back to the outside. Got his back turned. You're going to the top. What's up here? He turns slow. Great crossbody. Wow. Love it.
1, 2, 3.
And got the win on a crossbody. Beautiful.
That's the very few high spots you will ever see me do.
Wow, but that was exactly great.
Well, I hope all your viewers
that's what I'm
enjoyed it.
talking about. That was a great match. I could watch matches like that all day, Mr. Shane. I could watch that all day.
Thank you,
man. Let me tell you what some of these guys said, and I'm going to put this up again because this was true. Wow, just so fluid. You know he is a hell of a worker when he makes it look that easy and that good. Missy said Chris Thunder Anderson and you should offer a training seminar for one of the young ones, and I totally agree with that, Missy. I really do. DP Holiday said Scott Stan Lee is another great Southwest Virginia legend you should have on the podcast. I would love to have him on the podcast. Get him. I don't know if he's on Facebook, if I've got him on Facebook or how to get a hold of him. If you could help me with that, DP, I would love to get him on. Or if you could help me, either one, I would love to have him on.
Yeah, I'll actually see Stan I think the 19th of this month at a meet and greet, and they're going to have a show there.
Chris Thunder Anderson said, anytime you work with Stan, Eddie, and Kavina, it's a night off. Love all three of those guys.
Yeah.
There you go, man. Yeah. See, I love stuff like that, man. So let's get to this. You sent me something. Let me go back. I'm gonna have to find it because I tried to do something earlier. But I've got it here. I did not lose it. It's right here.
And I'll explain to you here in a minute why I have to wipe my eye.
And I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. Give me 1 second, and I'm going to let everybody see it to read it. See if I can do this. It's going to take me just a minute. While we're doing this, I was talking about the wiping the feet also and putting. What do you think about guys now who sometimes don't wipe their feet when they come in and they just go into the ring?
I was always trained that was a respect thing, because you're walking into an artist's canvas. Plus, you made sure you didn't have no dirt on your feet or carry something in the ring that, one of the guys going to get cut on.
That's exactly what everybody who knows wrestling knows. That's exactly what.
And
All
while you're
right,
doing that,
I'm almost there, ladies and gentlemen. I promise I'm going to get this on the screen.
I'll explain why I'm having to wipe my eye. Back in 2017 and 18, I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And so I had a very rare, I had a less than 10% chance of beating this. I was the second person in the United States to ever have the type that I had. It was in my sinuses. I have no sinus tissues. I went through a 12-hour surgery at the University of Alabama at Birmingham with some of the best doctors in the world, because to where I should be, to where I'm at now, has just been a true blessing that God has given me the opportunity to be here to talk to you and the fans out there and share that story. But my tear ducts and everything are all messed up, and my eyes continuously water. So that's why I have to keep wiping my eyes.
Well, I've got something similar but different with my eyes. If I take my eye and get near the camera, you'll see all the bumps around my eyes.
Yeah.
My tear ducts actually close up, and then they fill up with water, and it looks like a pimple, but it's really not. It's my tear ducts. This is the water trying to get out, but my tear ducts close up and don't let them do it. So it's bad. I know some of your pain, brother. I do know some of it, not all of it.
One thing about, the guys in this business, it's a brotherhood. It's a privilege.
Right.
It's an honor.
Right. And let me tell you something too. That word is thrown around a lot with the young kids, and sometimes I don't see it, man. I'm just going to be honest. And I'm not a wrestler. I am a mark. If you want to call me a mark, I'm a mark. I've watched wrestling forever. I couldn't tell you. I probably watched 20,000 matches. Okay. In my time period of when I started loving wrestling till now, especially the last, 6.5 years that I've been doing this show, 6.5 years. I watch wrestling every day. I try to find new talent every day to bring on this show. I'm watching it all the time. So yeah, I'm kind of a mark, but man, I'm telling you, it has been a change. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Guys, if you're out there and you're a high flyer and you're a little guy, you're a cruiserweight or what have you, I'm not downing you for who you are. I'm just saying we grew up in a time when if you weren't 250, had some muscles, and looked like a wrestler, you weren't going to get in that ring. I'm sorry, you just weren't. That was it. You had to have the it
referee or manage.
Right. You could do those things, but you couldn't go in and be an actual wrestler. But let's get back to this. This is one thing that I want to see. Eddie Bruiser put something up on his Facebook page as a news clip, and I've got it. And the only way I could get it is to, like you do on your computer, you fill it out and it turns blue. So it's going to be covered in blue, but I think we can read it. Yeah, we can read it just fine. This is exactly what he said. This is the clip from 2019. He said, Pro Wrestling News, the All-American Shane story by Eddie Bruiser. The late 80s, early 90s was a wonderful time in professional wrestling with many talented athletes in the ring. For me, it was the best time in the business. On a show in Charlotte, North Carolina, I met a short, stocky, perfect hair style dude named Alex Shane. Come to find out, he was from Chilhowie, Virginia, about 40 miles away. If I ruined that, I'm sorry. Minutes away from my home. Alex was trained by the legendary Russian Bear Ivan Koloff, and immediately we became friends. We tagged together some on the later became opponents. It was the greatest show on earth when we wrestled each other. Alex even invented a move called the leg drop guillotine. Not sure I spelled that right, but to me that was the first move used on that move on. Promotions all over the Atlantic Coast area were booking Eddie Bruiser versus Alex Shane, and 90% of them booked us on the main event. Our success was that we both knew how to wrestle each other, and we had some pretty brutal ways of doing it too. It wasn't unusual to see us both with our clothes ripped and both pouring blood in matches with each other. Alex's career was cut short with multiple knee injuries and a surgery. There was no doubt that is what we did in the ring. 2 years ago, Alex was diagnosed with cancer and needed surgery, and that's what Alex just talked about. So I'm going to stop there, but he covered everything right there. And let me tell you, he said some things that to put it out there for another wrestler, that is probably the best thing you could ever hear from a peer of yours.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, when somebody says that you immediately became friends and we immediately hooked up and 90% of our matches were main events in our area, that's when you know you got something special going on.
And a lot of our matches were street fights.
Oh, I love that.
Oh,
See?
and Eddie was another one that I trusted. We did a finish one night, and Eddie was scared to death to do it, and I said, I trust you. And he actually pinned me for the strap with a power bomb from a top rope onto a stack of chairs.
See, that's and what I liked about, and I say those days because yes, I am 52. I'm older. You're a little bit older than me, but man, that was you booked, and sometimes they do it a little early nowadays. And I'm not downing anybody because that's today's wrestling. But back in the day, you built up for months before you got to that stipulation match.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was a whole year before you got to that stipulation match.
Yeah.
And that stipulation match was brutal. Like you're saying, you had matches, street fights, you had, steel cage. Nowadays, it's nothing. And again, I'm not downing it. It's just today's wrestling. You have 2 or 3 matches and you get to that right away.
Yeah, I hated cage matches. Oh God. Oh, I was in
Now
plenty
you got
of them.
some states. You got some states now, Alex, and we'll talk about this. You got some states like South Carolina that I live in, where you have to get a license to wrestle or do anything in wrestling, and they have a rule in South Carolina: no blood.
Nope, no blood.
No blood.
Kevin and I were talking about this the other day, and I remember how, because we were talking, I said, I remember when they come in, they even measured from the ring apron to the fan barrier. You had to have, and back then, age was a big thing. So they had you had to have age control in the back. You had to have rubber gloves. If you got as much as a busted lip, the referee had to stop the match. Yeah.
That's the worst thing you could see in a wrestling match when a referee does that as a fan.
Yeah.
Because it stops immediately, and oh man. It's either the wrestler is injured beyond what he was supposed to be, or like you said, if it's a blood state and you see any sight of blood, even if you get a chair hit and it kind of cuts you and you see blood, that's it.
Yeah.
Gotta quit.
You're
out.
He was the Mauler. I worked him one time in Tennessee. They give him a cross body block. And when I did, my knee come into his rib cage. Well, he had some cracked ribs. So we immediately stopped, 1, 2, 3, that was the end of it. I told him to lay right there. I rolled out, went straight to the locker room and did not break character, but I got the heels. The heels went up and helped get Donnie out of there. And then we made sure he was all right in the back.
See, that's important. And let me tell you, because you explained that perfectly, that's important. Now I haven't never seen it happen in real life, but I've heard of instances and I've seen videos of when somebody gets hurt, baby faces, everybody runs out there. That's not the way to do it, ladies and gentlemen, because with a baby face, you're ruining everything. That if you have a storyline going, you've ruined everything when that happens.
Yeah, or even nowadays, they're the heels. They don't have to cheat to win. The baby faces are doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll tell you one thing that burns me, and I'm old school as you can get. When you get into a fight, unless you're in the, like I said, the stipulation match at the end of a brawl or a feud, I hate it when a heel hits a baby face with a fist and the baby face comes back with a fist and they start fisticuffs. That is wrong, and you should never hit. If you're a heel, you got to use an open hand. You got to use an open hand. And a lot of wrestlers forget that. And I mean, it's nothing. I'm a mountain to die over. I'm not going to continue on that, but man, I'm telling you, a lot of people forget about that nowadays.
Yeah.
And go right into fisticuffs, and it's something for old school people. It took a long time. I'm not used to it, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, man. Well, Mr. Alex, we've been on for an hour and 40 minutes, sir. It is 10:40 in the evening where I'm living. I'm pretty sure it's the same time where you're at. I've loved this conversation, and I'm going to tell you, I would like to come back and do a part 2 because I know you got tons more stories. We can go through your room and do things like that. And I would love to have you back. We could set up a date. You got my phone number. I would love to do this again. We've got a lot of people over here saying, man, you got to have them back. You got to have them back.
Well,
I would love to have you back.
All your
What's that?
viewers, to all your viewers that's watched this, I hope you've enjoyed it. I look forward to coming back, and it was great to hear such positive feedback. And you when you're out of the business for a while and you kind of start working your way back in it, which mine's just been through meet and greets, but you wonder how many people remember who you were. But I have really been surprised of the fans that come up and say, man, I still got a picture on my wall at my parents' house that you signed for me, here, and and they still have it, in their room.
You can't quite see it here. I'll move my camera here so you can. Right up under there, you see pictures of my daughter with wrestlers. They're all signed. You look up there, there's pictures of wrestlers with me and my daughter. All those pictures are signed from the wrestlers, man. That's something I love to do. I'm not going to lie to you, because my saying, and I said it earlier, I love doing my show, and the reason I do hashtag truth is I love talking to woolly veterans like you and getting great stories and how to really wrestle. But I also like, the guys who are wrestling and doing things now, and you get a signed autograph from them, they send you a poster or something, and you never know when that diamond in the rough is going to become popular and go on WWE or AEW or anything like that. And I've had that happen to me one time so far. Will Hobbs, that my claim to fame right now is Will Hobbs, who is wrestling for AEW. I did an interview for him about 4 weeks before he signed his contract with AEW.
Well, Kid Cash, him and I worked each other a lot on the indie. Easy Money, him and I tagged some on the indie.
See, you're talking names that you're making the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, sir. I ain't gonna lie to you.
A lot of these guys that I met growing up, and and I'll always ask them, could I get a picture, for my kids,
right?
And, which I had a bunch of them, and when we sold the home we were living in and bought the one we're in now, and this has been 30 years ago, but somebody got into our garage and stole a lot of stuff out of the garage. And
you told me about that, man. That's sad, because that's a lot of history, bro. That's not only just pictures that you did of wrestling and all the wrestlers you had. That was history that was stolen. That's what gets me.
I had one golden picture that I loved, and a fan gave it to me they took it one night. The next time we was back, they said, here, man, I wanted to give this to you. And I'd won the strap, and the only thing you can see is the white of my eyes and a little bit of the white on my teeth, and the rest of it I'm just covered in blood. And I'm sitting there on one knee holding the heavyweight strap.
Wow.
And I just looked up about the time she took that picture got gone. I had pictures of Ronnie Garvin, Junkyard Dog, all these guys, and but
that makes me want to cry, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. That makes me want to cry. I'm serious. That is history that somebody has that isn't theirs, and if they don't appreciate it and give it back or that's just horrible to me. Missy Childers wants to know, does Easy Money still make tights? Do you know?
I'm not 100% sure if he does or not. I haven't talked to him in a while.
And Missy Childers said, looking forward to you coming back on. This was pretty awesome. I agree, Missy,
Thank you.
100%.
Thank you
I'm
very
still,
much.
I don't know how to end this because every time I start to end it, he's got a better story to tell, man. And I love it. I'm not joking. I got back problems. You see me squirming. If you see me squirming, it's because I have really bad back problems. And the steel chair, because I'm a big guy that I sit in, it gets kind of uncomfortable after a little while, and I'm squirming. But I still don't want to get up. I don't care how bad my back hurts. That's how much I'm loving this interview, man.
I'll let you go with this one.
Okay.
And I'm gonna plug a little thing here because I
You do you, man.
A lot of charity work. I used to do a lot of work for Special Olympics and the DARE program. And the last couple of years, I've been Washington County, Virginia, which is Abingdon, Virginia. The 19th of this month, I will be there with some of the guys doing a meet and greet. It's a fundraiser for their Meals on Wheels program. If anybody's in the local viewing area, come by and get a picture and, help raise money for a good cause.
Oh man, there you go. My dad said take 5 and keep going. My dad's loving this. He's right in the next room, right on the other side of this wall, watching it on computer. He's loving it, man. I love my dad. He loves old school wrestling, man. And I know he's over there with a big grin from ear to ear watching this. He loves it. Azriel, oh man, my buddy from the E-Feds, man, he's on here. He's saying this is straight fire. I love you, Azzy.
Well, thank you.
Missy Childers said, I caught Ronnie Garvin's towel one time. I was so excited. Man, see, that's one thing, man, that I was never able to do was go to the arena. I always watched everything on TV. My family wasn't rich at all. We were kind of poor, I ain't gonna lie. And I never got to go to the shows in Memphis. But man, to hear somebody like this story right here, these are the stories I love. This is what hashtag truth is for me, man. I caught Ronnie Garvin's towel, and I could imagine if she lifted up and caught that towel and she loved Ronnie Garvin, she was probably screaming and excited. That's what you live for. Yeah. That's what you live for in wrestling,
super
man.
Nice guy, Ronnie was. Super nice guy.
Yeah. And that's true. Joseph said Alex would have done it to give Scott the confidence to let go of the ropes. I wouldn't have done it, man. I'm not a wrestler. Yeah. I found my niche in doing what I'm doing now, and I love it, guys. Let me tell you, I'm not mad for not being a wrestler, but I love these stories, man. Go ahead, Alex. Tell us what you got to tell.
Man, just when you go for that dream, brother, you reach for the sky, and I was always told things, I couldn't do because it was so short. But
trust me, brother, life is too short, and I'm learning that now. And I've got a whole bunch of health problems. I'm not going to get into it. Everybody who watches, who knows me knows. But I stop my show. I bring it back. I stop. And when I have my hesitations, like, I interviewed Kavina like 2 weeks ago and had you come on the second tonight, and I was looking forward to it. But I have to be careful with my health and what I do. So I kind of take pauses, and then I'll do like 10 straight, and then I'll take a pause, and everybody knows it. They're used to it by now. Oh, good, Scott's back. And then 5 or 6 shows down the road, I guarantee you something will happen. I hope not. I pray every night that it doesn't. But man, I tell you, I wasn't going to miss this one for the world. I told my wife, I don't care. I didn't feel good an hour before the show. I'm not going to lie to anybody. I was laying in that bed right here behind me, and I was feeling bad. And I looked at my wife and I said, wake me up at 8 o'clock. I'm going to lay down. I said, but I'm not missing this one. I don't care how bad I feel. I said, man, this guy's called me 3 times. We talked for an hour and a half each time he's called me. He knows my wife's name. He knows my daughter's name. I said, there's no way I'm missing this. He called me on Facebook. We even had a good time getting him onto the show. So I'm going to tell you, man, we had the family over there, and I'm not going to name names or nothing, but we had the wife and the son, and we had a whole family over there trying to get Mr. Shane on my show tonight. So it was a great time. I had a blast. Well, sir, let me tell you, I'm going to repeat what everybody said over here. This is the most awesome show I've had in a long time. I'm not going to lie. And I would love to have you back, and I would love to discuss that and have you back in the near future and continue to tell stories. Anybody that you've wrestled, if they're willing to come on the show and talk with me, I would love to have them on. I would give them the utmost respect like I have you. And let me tell you, sir, it has been an honor to have you on this show.
Thank you. And I'm going to read something here that I don't know
Okay.
if you can see this. This is a friend of mine, Nate Diamond,
Okay.
and he's not in the business no more. But he signed a picture and gave to me, and he said, "You don't read this till you get home." And it says, "Thank you for the legacy that you left for people like me to learn from." And that's what he wrote on the back of the picture.
Oh my goodness. That is wow.
And, you know,
That's gonna make me cry.
and you know, and that made me
That's
feel
good.
you know, that you know, some of these guys.
We gotta show one more thing, Mr. Shane. And I know that's a great thing, and I love it, but we gotta show one more thing before we get off the air in case our second show is on down the road. You gotta show a belt that you've got right off the screen there somewhere. Ladies and gentlemen, this guy has an old school belt. He doesn't even know where this is from, and nobody has told him where this is from. Look at this belt. And I want him to turn it sideways so toward the screen so you could tell. This is a real, I mean, that is thick metal. That is not a, just fly-by-night somebody made it. This isn't, somebody says it looks like an old NWA belt, but they're not sure. But, man, that is an amazing belt.
A little quick story on that, and I'll let you go.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead. It's all you.
A real good friend of mine that I tagged with, Cherokee Renegade. He's out of Cherokee, North Carolina. And when Kevin and them, when I got sick, did a benefit show for me and my family.
Okay.
And Cherokee, I mean, a lot of the guys that I'd worked with over the years, even guys from Chicago, came down. They didn't work. They came down to support. Wow. And and that made me feel so good. These guys did that. But Renegade and I tagged a lot, and over the last 20 plus years, had talked to each other 3 or 4 times a month. And he started coming in with me. Came in with me and Sexy Gavina last year at the Meals on Wheels program, and he showed me this belt. And I said, he said, if I ever get rid of it, he said, I'll holler at you. I said, it's a tag belt.
Right.
All I know was somebody way down in South Carolina had the other half. That's all the story I knew.
Oh, wow.
But last year in October, he met me and Boogie for some meet and greets to promote the Atkins show. And he was supposed to work on it, and he wasn't feeling well. He's having some problems, and met his girlfriend, and we talked, and then they was going to bring him to another show.
Right.
And one of the toy stores that we went to, a friend of mine owns, called me, and he said, you remember your Indian friend? And I said, yeah. He said, well, his girlfriend's trying to get a hold of you. I said, well, most women are, but anyway. And he said, she's very distraught about something. And my heart hit the floor. And he gave me her number. And I called her, and he had passed away.
Oh man. See, we've got a guy here in our area that loved independent professional wrestling, and he did a lot of announcing, and he was a great guy. We had a memorial type thing at a wrestling show for him, and I understand, man. I really understand that. That is heartbreaking.
But
when you hear news.
Yeah, but his brothers reached out to me in April, weekend of Easter, and his wife had family in Christiansburg, Virginia, and they were coming through. He said, we got something we want to give you, and they gave me that belt.
Wow.
That's the story of the belt.
See, that is so it came from Cherokee and his family.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But
I know it's old school now.
Did have Boogie look at it, and Boogie said he can't say it is one of the old NWA belts because he didn't really do a lot as far as the tag team. And, so I don't know.
Right.
All I know is, it's priceless.
We'll have to get a picture of that and put that up and find out. There's got to be somebody out there that knows where that belt's from, man. Because that's a great mystery, and I love that story too, man. That is That is totally awesome, man. I tell you, we've been on for almost 2 hours, brother. We're going to shut this thing down. We've been on for an hour and 54 minutes almost. It was supposed to be an hour show, and we made it 2, brother. But I enjoyed every bit of this, Mr. Shane. And let me tell you, I'm going to end it this way. Man, there's nothing I can say. There's no rhyme I can do like I usually do at the end of my show. I'm just going to say this, man. The respect that I have for this gentleman and his stories and telling everybody, what's going on in his life, telling us the cancer story and everything, man. All the respect in the world to you, sir. I appreciate you coming on and telling us your stories, and I do want to have you back.
Okay, yeah, we'll set up another date and we'll do.
I would love.
Like I said, I hope all your viewers enjoyed it, and I can't wait, my friend.
I know. All right, guys, there you have it. All-American Alex Shane, the myth, the legend. And let me tell you, he wrestled a lot of good people, and he has a lot of good stories, and he is going to come back. And that is the hashtag truth. We'll see you guys next time. We're going to start Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I'm looking for wrestlers to come on the show. You guys hit me up, and I will be ready to go again. All respect in the world. Thank you very much, Mr. Shane. We'll see you next time.